Imagine conquering almost the entire known world before the age of 33, winning battle after battle, never losing once, and building an empire so vast no one could control it after you died. This was the life of Alexander the Great, the most unstoppable military commander in history. But here's the question historians still ask today. How did one young king defeat the greatest armies on earth? Alexander was born in 356 BC in the kingdom of Macedon. His father, Philip II of Macedon, was already transforming the Macedonian army into one of the most powerful fighting forces in the world. But Alexander's education went beyond warfare. His teacher was the legendary philosopher Aristotle. From Aristotle, Alexander learned philosophy, politics, science, and the belief that he was destined for greatness. But destiny alone does not win battles, and Alexander would soon face enemies far stronger than himself. When Alexander was just 20 years old, his father was assassinated. Suddenly, the young prince became king. Many Greek cities immediately rebelled. They believed the young ruler would be weak. They were wrong. Alexander marched south with his army and crushed the rebellion. Then he destroyed the city of Thebes completely. It was a brutal message to the rest of Greece. Alexander was not a boy. He was their ruler. But Greece was only the beginning, because Alexander had something much bigger in mind. At that time, the most powerful empire on earth was the Persian Empire. It stretched from Egypt all the way to India. It had enormous wealth, massive armies, and a king believed to be unstoppable. His name was Darius III. Most rulers would have avoided war with Persia. Alexander did the opposite. In 334 BC, he crossed into Asia with only about 40,000 soldiers. He was invading an empire that could raise hundreds of thousands. The first major clash came at the Battle of Issus. Darius himself commanded a massive army. Alexander's force was much smaller. But instead of defending, Alexander attacked. He led a direct charge straight toward the Persian king. The move shocked the entire battlefield. Darius panicked. And then something unbelievable happened. The king of Persia fled. When the Persian army saw their king run, the entire army collapsed. One of the greatest empires on earth had just been humiliated. But Alexander wasn't finished. Not even close. Alexander then marched south and captured Egypt. The Egyptians welcomed him as a liberator. They even declared him a god. While there, he founded a city that still exists today, Alexandria. But Alexander's ambition did not stop there. He turned east again, toward Persia. The final confrontation came at the Battle of Gaugamela. Darius had prepared carefully. His army was enormous. War elephants, sign chariots, hundreds of thousands of troops. Alexander had around 47,000. Again, the odds were impossible. And again, Alexander attacked directly. His cavalry smashed through the Persian center. Darius fled for the second time, and the Persian Empire collapsed. After defeating Persia, Alexander continued marching east, through deserts, across mountains, into lands the Greeks had never seen before. Eventually his army reached India. There they faced fierce resistance and massive war elephants. The fighting was brutal. And for the first time, Alexander's soldiers refused to continue. They had marched for nearly 10 years. They had crossed thousands of miles. And they wanted to go home. Alexander had conquered the world. But even he could not conquer exhaustion. So he finally turned back. In 323 BC, Alexander returned to Babylon. He was only 32 years old. And still undefeated. But suddenly he became ill. Within days, the greatest conqueror in history was dead. No one knows exactly why. Some believe disease. Others believe poisoning. But what happened next was even more dramatic. Alexander left no clear successor. His generals immediately began fighting each other for control. The empire he built in just over a decade collapsed almost overnight. Alexander the Great conquered the world. But the world could not hold his empire together. Sometimes the greatest victories in history create the greatest chaos. And that is why Alexander the Great remains one of the most fascinating figures the world has ever known.